Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video on Hypixel Skyblock. I've made 4 of these guides before and here's the 5th. This is Mage Mistakes that are ruining your build, Part 5! Alright everyone, so it has been forever since I made a mage guide, and since then I've actually switched classes to Berserker and now I'm back to a mage. So here is the breakdown of this video. I will be going over the top tier mage weapons, then I'll be going over some good armor sets you can use as a mage, then I'm going to be going into the dungeon and showing you guys some useful tips as a mage for floor 7. So, starting off this guide is Mage Weapons. Alright everyone, so these are the weapons you want in floor 7. Now, the prime weapon that you want as a mage is the Hyperion. And I think this sword explains itself. Insane clearing power that is uncontested by anything in dungeons, and insane left-click mage damage due to its very high base stats. The Hyperion is an absolute beast of a sword, and every self-respecting mage needs to get this sword right away. If you're a mage, you should be saving up all your money for this weapon. Personally, I sold all my armor sets pretty much, and I basically spent everything I had on this one sword, and I have no regrets whatsoever. The Hyperion is an absolutely insane weapon that you have to try. Now, what if you cannot afford a Hyperion? Non-hype mages are still viable in floor 7, however, they are much weaker than a Hyperion mage. The main reason that a Hyperion mage is so much better is because a non-hype mage is very squishy. Now, you can take it from me, as I have played mage for 8 months, and non-hype mage is a very difficult class to play in floor 7. You have absolutely terrible EHP, and you can't really clear that fast because you're always dying. As a non-hype mage, you're 100% going to need a high tier left click mage weapon. The best I recommend is a livid dagger, or even better, a giant sword. However, the giant sword often needs one for all, so I'd say a livid dagger is the best overall option. You will definitely need a livid dagger. Just a 100 Midas staff is not going to cut it, because your EHP is so low that you're going to always have to switch the livid dagger to lifesteal off various mobs. If you do not have this livid dagger, you are basically screwed in floor 7. So, on top of this, we have our basic mage weapons. You have the 100 Midas staff, and you have the Spirit Scepter, and also the Yeti sword if you're Catacombs 28. The Yeti sword is actually a pretty good weapon, and plus, it doesn't block Archer's boomerangs, so it can also be used viably in the floor 7 boss fight without rendering your Archer useless. So, those are the main weapons, the primary weapons for a mage. So, in my Mage Mistakes Part 4, I talked about primary weapons and secondary weapons. Primary weapons are the ones that you're actually going to be using in the boss fight, and now let's discuss some secondary weapons. So, the main secondary weapons that I use personally are a Wither Cloak Sword and a Florid Zombie Sword. Now, the Wither Cloak Sword is something that almost every floor 7 dungeon player has, and the reason for this is because it's very useful when trying to jump into lava. The lava deals 20% of your health as damage, so while going to Java, you can just use this ability and you won't die. This is a very useful item, and every floor 7 player should have a Wither Cloak Sword. And the Florid Zombie Sword is just some extra healing in a pinch. I rarely ever need this due to the Hyperion's insane healing, but sometimes I still need the Florid Zombie Sword. And if you're not a Hyperion mage, you're gonna 100% need this weapon all the time, as it is a primary source of healing besides the Mage Beam. So some other secondary weapons are an Ice Spray Wand, and I personally do not have an Ice Spray Wand because I really don't need it. The Hyperion just shreds through any mini-boss with ease, but if you don't have a Hyperion, you definitely want to get an Ice Spray Wand, as it helps out a lot with mini-bosses and speeds up the time by a lot. Alright, so those are the basic weapons that you want as a mage. Of course, you also want some bows. Personally, I use a magma bow, however, there are definitely better options. One of such options is the death bow. The reason a death bow is pretty good is because when Necron goes into the center platform and starts using Nuclear Frenzy, you can pull back your death bow and do crazy damage. And do some passive damage while he is there on the pedestal. Otherwise, you could always Spirit Leap to an Archer and go to the platform and damage Necron yourself. Another really good bow is also the Last Breath bow. This is not good because it's a good weapon. It's actually a rather bad weapon, but it's really good because of its ability. It reduces defense by 100, which is completely broken. And if you have 3 last breath in your party and they each fire 2 times on a Necron, that will actually take away all of Necron's defense and you will absolutely shred the boss. So those are the weapons. It's rather self-explanatory, and I've already gone over the mage weapons that you want extensively in my past guides, and I've linked all 4 mage mistakes guides in the description. Now let's talk about an armor set. So for this category, I've grouped it into Hyperion armor set and non-Hyperion armor set. Now, if you have Hyperion, you probably spent most of your money on the sword, which is why I came up with this. This is this armor set right here, and it is 2/4 storm armor, a perfect chestplate, and wither goggles. Now, the reason why this setup is good is because it has a relatively low cost, and it is a very, very good set. The reason it is good is because you get lots of left-click mage damage from the 2 ancient pieces. As you can see, I have 2 on ancient. Then you get a good amount of intelligence from my necrotic storm leggings, and you get EHP from the perfect chestplate. As you can see, the perfect chestplate gives me terrible intelligence, but I get that very sweet 1300 defense. This setup is actually quite tanky. Not that tanky, but it definitely can survive a little bit against Necron, and I get over 10,000 mana easily in the boss fight with this setup. Now, the reason you want Wither Goggles and Storm Armor on Ancient is because you want to achieve a 100% crit chance. The reason you want to achieve a 100% crit chance is because a lot of the DPS that you actually do as a Hyperion Mage comes from the Hyperion left-click ability. I have done over 15 million damage in one hit, and I can do up to 20 million damage to Necron because of the plus 50% damage to Wither mobs. You definitely want Ancient because then you'll have a 100% crit chance and you'll get to make the best use out of Siphon. Now, what if you do not have a Hyperion? Well, if you do not have a Hyperion, you want to invest a lot of money into your armor set because you're not going to be very tanky and your armor set is going to be very, very important. If you do not have a Hyperion, here is the setup I recommend. Basically, you're going to want a dungeon setup and you're going to want a boss fight setup. For the dungeon setup, I recommend something similar to this, 2/4 Storm. However, it should be on Giant, not on Necrotic or Ancient, because you're definitely going to die without Giant Storm. And then you want the perfect chestplate on Loving, that's fine, and you want the Wither Goggles on Necrotic. This is a pretty good setup. I played with this setup a lot, and I actually liked it a lot, and this is enough for you to survive the dungeon. However, when you go to the boss fight, you need to be a little bit more tanky. Here is where I recommend you wear some Goldor armor or something like of the sort, and you definitely also want to get a Whale Pet. The reason you want a Whale Pet is because it gives you a lot of EHP and will go perfectly with the Giant Storm. So those are the armor sets for Hyperion Mage and non-Hyperion Mage. Just a recap for Hyperion Mage, this is a really good setup. It's not that expensive and it's very well balanced. And for Hyperion Mage, basically you want to use Storm Armor in the dungeon, and then you want to switch over to either Goldor or Perfect Armor, something pretty tanky for the boss fight, otherwise you're definitely going to die. Alright, so now let's talk about pets. So, in Floor 7, you're going to need 2 pets 100%, and then some optional pets. Now, the one pet you want is the Sheep Pet. This Sheep Pet is a very, very good Sheep Pet, no candy, and with a Dwarf Turtle Shelmet, and I use this thing all the time in the dungeon. As you can see, this thing, I've had it forever, and it's a really, really good pet. However, when the boss fight rolls around, you want to be using your Wither Skeleton pet for the entire boss fight. This pet is absolutely insane in the boss. As you can see, it gives you plus 50% damage to all mobs in the boss fight, and you take 30% less damage from all the mobs in the boss fight if the pet is at level 100. I have a level 93, but honestly, they're close enough. So these 2 pets are going to be your main pets. But for non-Hyperion mages, you're gonna definitely want either a baby Yeti or, even better, a whale pet. Alright, so a whale pet is not very expensive at the moment. Just searching up real quick, I think, let's see. You can get like, a level 91, that's pretty good, 89. As you can see, they're not that expensive at all. But this is going to improve your EHP by almost 300,000 EHP. And it's actually a really, really good pet. So those are the pets you want to use. Honestly, they're not that hard. On the sheep, you can opt to use a Minos Relic, Personally, I do not use a Minos Relic because I already do enough damage with the sheep, and it's 50 million coins just for one pet item. But if you want that extra bit of damage, then a Minos Relic is a really, really good addition. Alright everybody, so now I'm going to go into a dungeon run. As you can see, I have my entire party ready. And now I'm going to be showing you guys how you should play floor 7 as a mage. So yeah, let's do this. So I have my Dungeon 7 potion ready, and we're going to go into floor 7 right now. Okay guys, so right now, without my mage buff, I have 6,900 intelligence, which is actually really, really good. And I'm going to go with some speed now, like that. And my EHP is at 94,000, which is pretty bad, but it doesn't really matter because this Hyperion, well, as you can see, it's just instant death for everything. Absolute instant death for everything around. So as you can see, I'm doing something called blood rushing. So basically, blood rushing is where you want to have one player rush into the blood room. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Now, as you can see, I'm gonna deal with this Lost Adventurer real quick. There we go, and that's dead. And I'm also going to heal up with the left click mage. And now, as you can see, we have done a blood rush. Alright, so now already I'm at 7,900 mana with just 50% completion. There we go, that's 8,900 mana when holding the Hyperion. And now we're just going to continue getting some secrets in this room. Now, when you have a Hyperion, you still want to be able to get secrets. Just having the super expensive sword doesn't make you be excused from doing basic dungeon stuff like secrets. Personally, I would not play with someone that knew absolutely zero secrets and had Hyperion. I probably would not play with them, because that might actually be slower if we have to get all the secrets myself. I have to get all the secrets myself. Okay, so looks like there's Diamante, so I'm just gonna go through here, heal up a little bit, and then go right back. So as you can see, I'm just trying to get the fragment, healing up off these blood mobs, and then going right back. There you go. Boomer mobs are pretty annoying, so I'm just trying to steal a crew of them. And then here is Diamante Giant. So let's see if we can just take care of this without dying. There you go, and there we go, it's dead, and we got ourselves a Diamante's handle, free profit, and blood is completed. Alright, so this party is a pretty good party I got right here. Someone's doing Trap Room. Let's see how much damage I do. I do 4.7 million with this armor. So as you can see, this armor gives you plenty of mana. I'm never running out, and I have a ton of stats on top of that. As you can see, I have 2,800 strength, 1,300% critical damage, 99% crit chance, and I still have all of this stuff. So as you can see, this setup works really, really well, and the dungeon is about to end now. So with this in mind, I'm going to put on a rabbit hat. A rabbit hat, you might be asking, why are you putting on a rabbit hat? It sucks. Well, the rabbit hat is very, very useful for floor 7. And the reason is, it gives you jump boost in the boss fight. Jump boost helps you with Necron crushing, as you can crush him much easier when you have jump boost effect. So, we're going to do that. So now, we're just going to go through with our jump boost and the rabbit hat. Okay, here we go. We now have that on, and I'm going to put on my Bonzo mask, and then I'm going to take my Jerry Sheen gun. So the Jerry Sheen gun is insane for floor 7. You definitely need it, because it lets you cheese the energy crystals. There we go. And now I'm going to get some decent speed going, and then we're going to lure Necron. I'm sure all of you guys know how the boss actually works. It's pretty simple. And with all of this stuff, now we go. We got Necron. And now it's time to go down. So now when we're going down, I'm going to put on my Wither Skeleton pet. And I'm also going to charge up some speed. And there we go. Alright, so one of the most important things you want to remember is to not pre-fire. basically pre-firing is that. As you can see, all those mobs were there, and they instantly killed me. As you can see, that demonstration of what pre-firing is. You don't want to do it, because you're going to die. So here we go, we just crushed Necron real quick, just doing that. But yeah, you don't want to pre-fire. Basically, you just want to spread out all the mobs. And the reason you want to spread them out is, well, because when you spread them apart like that, okay, there we go. And now we're going to head down and do the boss. So now I'm going to use my Wither Cloak Sword in this section. And here we go. The core entrance is opening, and now it's time to do Necron. Alright, so as you can see, it's going to look like about a 10-minute run, so, you know, that's going to be fine. So now when I'm going down, I'm going to spam this so I can get some extra damage on him before he drops. And then now it's time to kill Necron. So as you can see, I'm taking a lot of damage. And now we're just going to kill him. Let's see if we can get a sub-8 run. Oh, let's go. We just got a sub-8-minute run. That is really good. Nice. I just got a sub-8-minute run right there. Very, very cool. And there we go. That's Necron for you. And that is the Mage Guide. Alright, everyone. And that was Mage Mistakes That Are Ruining Your Build, Part 5. So in this video, I went over the main mage weapons, and that's primarily the Hyperion, but then also the Yeti Sword and the Midas Staff. Then I went over some good armor sets, and a very good Hyperion armor set is this right here, the 2-Forward Storm, Perfect Chestplate, and Wither Goggles. And then I talked over some dungeon strategies. Basically, you want one person to rush the Blood Room. You don't want to pre-fire in the boss fight, otherwise you're going to die. And this whole setup is just really, really good. Now, Hyperion is a massive challenge for most players, and I am very fortunate to get lots of contraband from everyone, so I'd like to thank everyone who donated to me to get this sword. It really means a lot to me. And if you cannot afford Hyperion, personally, I feel that you honestly shouldn't go Mage. I have played Mage a lot of times for almost 8 months without Hyperion, and honestly, after playing Berserker to a very high level and having very good gear, well, I realized that non-Hyperion Mage is actually quite a bad class simply because of how squishy it is and because of the low DPS, and DPS is very important in Necron. So I recommend that you go Archer class or even Berserker class if you want something budget, and that's going to give you a lot more bang for your buck. So that's what I have to say on that. Honestly, I recommend frag running or just playing the game until you can get a Hyperion, and once you do, it's definitely worth it. So that is how I do that. So that was the video, everyone. I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something from this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!